A young woman in Chicago moved into her new home, and from that moment on she felt she was not alone. But what if the place where you feel safest is actually a game of someone watching you? When you hear this story, you'll think twice about locking the doors to your home. If you're ready, now we open the door to real fear. Hey, we all know that home is where the heart is, right? It's the one place where you can truly be yourself, feel safe and relaxed, and let your guard down. But have you ever thought about what might happen if that safe place you've built turns into your worst nightmare? I know it might sound strange, but imagine if the very walls that are supposed to keep you safe start to feel like they're closing in on you, trapping you with a fear you never saw coming. Hi, I'm Amanda, and I'm 28. I was so excited when I thought I'd found the perfect apartment in the heart of Chicago. I had no idea that the most dangerous predators are often the ones you invite into your home. I know it might sound a bit strange, but this isn't just a story. It's a really important reminder that sometimes the scariest things can be hiding in the places we never expect them to be. They might look normal, but there's something not quite right about them. This is the story of how my dream apartment became a cage, and how a seemingly kind landlord turned into a stalker, turning my life upside down. Get ready, because this story is going to make you think twice about those locked doors and friendly faces. It'll make you think twice about whether you're really as safe as you thought you were. Even when you're at home, I know how it is when you get that feeling in your stomach, that nagging worry, the creeping dread, the feeling of being watched. It all starts so subtly, and then before you know it, it's escalated into this full-blown psychological siege. This is not for the faint of heart, but if you're up for a challenge, you'll find it a really rewarding experience. I'm going to tell you a story about invasion. It's not just about privacy. It's about the very essence of what it means to feel secure. And you never know. It could happen to anyone. This one's for you, my friend. To me, that's what it's all about. To your neighbor. So listen up, my friend, and remember, sometimes the scariest monsters don't hide under your bed. They hold the keys to your front door. The rental market in Chicago was really tough at the time. After my old lease ran out, I spent weeks looking through listings, going to open houses and dealing with some tough competition. I really wanted to find something decent, but it was either way too expensive or there were waiting lists that seemed to go on forever. Then, I stumbled upon it. A stunning studio apartment in a converted warehouse building. Come and see our beautiful exposed brick, soaring ceilings with open beams and massive windows offering a breathtaking view of the city skyline. And the rent, I was so pleasantly surprised by how reasonable it was. The landlord, David, seemed perfectly normal, which was a relief. He's in his mid-40s. He looks great. He works in a professional job, and he's a really attentive person. You'll love him. He was kind enough to give me a personal tour, which I really appreciated, as most landlords just send a property manager. I'm so happy to tell you that the apartment was even more beautiful in real life than it looked in the photos. The gleaming hardwood floors, the sleek, modern kitchen, and that view. It really felt like destiny. I signed the lease on the spot, eager to finally settle into my new life. I had no idea that by signing it, I was giving up my peace of mind. The moving day went so well. David even helped me carry a few boxes upstairs, which was so kind of him. He told me he lived in the same building, just one floor above, and said I should let him know if I needed anything at all. The first few weeks were just perfect. I'm so happy to have had that experience. I just loved how the natural light filled the apartment, and I had so much fun exploring the beautiful neighborhood and its amazing restaurants. I really felt like I had found my forever home. I was finally starting to feel settled, building a new chapter and enjoying the independence of city living. The city hummed outside my window, a comforting symphony of urban life, and I felt utterly content. I was completely unaware of the sinister undercurrents beginning to stir beneath the surface of my newfound happiness. This was the calm before the storm, the deceptive tranquility that often precedes a terrifying descent into chaos. And then, as if things couldn't get any more exciting, the small things started. It might seem insignificant at first, and you might think it's nothing to worry about. When I got home, I found that my post had been moved to the counter. It's not that I'm missing it. It's just that it's in a different place. I gave it a little shrug, thinking maybe the mailman had just been a little careless. Then, wouldn't you know it, my spare key, which I'd hidden away under a little rock near my front door, wasn't exactly where I'd left it. It was still there, but its orientation had changed. I felt like dismissing it again, but I thought I'd try to be open to it. I thought maybe the maintenance crew might have been in. Even though I hadn't received any notice, I felt a little uneasy, as if something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But then, things took a turn for the worse. I'd wake up to find the thermostat set to a different temperature than I'd left it. My coffee maker, programmed to brew at a time I never set. I noticed that the items in my refrigerator had been rearranged. They weren't stolen, but carefully put back in place, as if someone was trying to understand my habits, my patterns, the rhythm of my life. It was as if a quiet, unseen presence was gently passing through my space, leaving behind these little, unsettling breadcrumbs. Each one was like a quiet hint of a deeper, more disturbing truth. I felt like someone was watching me, and it was a bit unnerving. One morning, around 5 a.m., I woke up to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. "Just take it easy, my friend. Go at your own pace." And they stopped right outside my door. I held my breath, listening. The footsteps didn't move on. They just lingered. I know how it is. It felt like forever. Then, I heard a faint scratching sound. It looked like someone had been trying to pick the lock, or maybe someone had been writing on the door. My heart was beating really fast, like a drumbeat of pure terror. At last, I plucked up the courage to have a little look through the peephole. The hallway was empty, which was a bit creepy, but there it was, a small envelope on my door. My first name scrawled across it. Inside, a photograph. I'm just popping in to share a cute pic of me sleeping soundly in my own bed. From where I was standing, it looked like it had been taken from the corner of my bathroom. My heart started pounding with excitement. I was feeling a bit out of it and totally helpless when someone must have popped into my room. I called the police right away. They took the photo as evidence, but said there was little they could do since there were no signs of forced entry. They kindly suggested that I change my locks, which I did without hesitation. I also installed a security camera in my living room, pointed directly at the door, and started keeping a baseball bat next to my bed. For 2 whole weeks, nothing happened. I started to think that whoever it was had finally given up, that the nightmare was over at last. I felt a little better for a second, but it wasn't long before I realized that my hopes were in vain. Then, I checked my security camera footage, and there he was. It was 2:15 a.m., and it was my lovely landlord David. I'm so happy to be entering my apartment with my key. He strolled around, gently touching things and playfully rearranging items. But the absolute worst part, he stood at the foot of my bed for 10 agonizing minutes, just watching me sleep. The footage was really something else. I thought it was important to record the interaction and then go back to the police. This time, they really took it seriously. But when they went to arrest David, they couldn't find him. He was gone, and so were all of his things. The property management company didn't know about him. He wasn't the real landlord at all. He was just the lucky guy who had access to the building's master keys. The owner, who lived abroad, was totally unaware that someone was illegally renting out units. Poor David. He'd been doing this for over a year, collecting rent money and using his access to terrorize young women. I was his third victim. Poor guy. They found some camera footage of him doing the same thing in the other 2 apartments. Thankfully, the police finally caught him 3 states away, trying to pull the same scam in Milwaukee. It's such a shame. He got sent down for 5 years for breaking and entering, fraud and stalking. But sadly, the damage was irreparable. I just couldn't feel safe in that apartment again. I decided to move out of my old place and into a new one, and I chose a place with 24-hour security and cameras everywhere, because I wanted to feel safe and secure. I know how it is when you wake up in the middle of the night, convinced you can hear footsteps outside your door. It's hard to shake the feeling of being watched, especially when the person you trusted to keep you safe was the one who hurt you. It's a reminder that the illusion of safety can be shattered in an instant. leaving you feeling a bit uneasy and always looking over your shoulder. It's so sad. But the truth is that the most hurtful feeling comes not from a stranger, but from someone who has your trust. It's heartbreaking when someone you trust lets you down and has the keys to your safe place. And that, my friends, is the scariest thing of all. The ghostly echoes of his presence, the phantom footsteps, the lingering sense of dread. They're all part of my life now, but in a good way. It's always there, and it's never welcome. I'm a different person now, and I'm always going to be a little bit wary and haunted by the man who turned my home into a prison. And the worst part, he'll be out in a few years, which is great news. I'll still be keeping an eye out, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Oh, you know me, I'm always like that. This isn't just a story, it's a warning. Hey, I totally get it. I'm in the same boat. Just a friendly reminder to be watchful, trust your instincts, and always take your safety seriously. Because, you know, the monsters can be real, and sometimes they live right next door. Or, in my case, just one floor above. And they have a key, which is great. Here's your key, my friend. And they're watching, and don't worry, we're always watching. Even now, I can still feel that sense of connection. Hey, just a friendly reminder to make sure your door is locked, okay? They said technology would make dating safer, and I really hope they were right. I found myself doing this a lot as I looked through profiles on different dating apps, getting to know the world of modern romance. My name is Jessica, I'm 25, and I was living in Denver, working as a nurse. After a really tough breakup, I was ready to start putting myself out there again. But what I actually discovered was far more sinister. Predators had simply adapted their tools, weaponizing our own devices against us. I'm not trying to warn you off, but I do want to share with you a story that I hope will help you to be aware of the possible dangers of online dating. It's a world where people use trust as a currency and vulnerability as a weapon. Get ready to see digital safety in a whole new light, because this story will make you think twice about every swipe, every match, and every conversation that seems too good to be true. It will show you that the lines between the virtual and the real can get a little blurred, and that the monsters lurking in the shadows are often the ones we invite into our lives without even realizing. I matched with Marcus on a popular dating app. His profile seemed perfect, and I was really excited to meet him. She had a lovely smile, a great job in finance, and she was mad about the outdoors and cooking. After a week of friendly chatting, we decided to meet at a lovely, bustling coffee shop in a trendy part of town. When he arrived, he looked just like he did in his photos, captivating, articulate, and genuinely engaging. We talked for hours about everything from travel to career, aspiration. He even paid for our coffees, walked me to my car, and asked if I'd like to meet up again. Yes, I said, my heart fluttering with a hopeful excitement I hadn't felt in years. The second date was dinner at a lovely restaurant. Marcus was such a kind and considerate gentleman. He opened doors for me, paid for the bill, and asked thoughtful questions about my life. By the time we'd been on our third date and gone for a hike in the foothills, I felt like we were really connecting. He really knew his stuff, those trails, the hidden gems, the perfect spots for a scenic overlook. It was on that third date that I started noticing little things that didn't quite add up. He knew my work hours better than I'd ever told him, and I was really grateful for his understanding. He even mentioned my favorite coffee shop, a place I was certain I'd never brought up. When I asked how he knew, he'd just brush it off, saying I must have mentioned it and forgotten. It was only a tiny red flag, easily dismissed, but it was there, and it made me feel a little uneasy. But then, as if things couldn't get any more exciting, there were some pretty strange occurrences. He'd always send me a text straight away to ask how I was doing after something stressful happened at work, and I could tell he was doing it because he wanted to, not because he thought I needed it. He was always so perceptive, just like he knew when I was running late or had changed my plans. It was like he had some kind of sixth sense or was just incredibly intuitive. I must admit, it was a little unsettling at first, but I thought it was probably just a coincidence, or maybe it was something to do with his amazing observational skills. One evening, I was enjoying a relaxing evening at home. binge watching a new series on Netflix. Then, out of the blue, Marcus sent me a text asking what I thought about the episode I was watching. I hadn't mentioned to him that I was watching a show, or even that I was home. When I asked how he knew, he said it was just a lucky guess. But, you know what? That creepy feeling I got down my spine, it wasn't just luck. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just knew that something was terribly wrong. I started checking my social media settings, taking a look at what information was public and what was private. And then, you know what? I made a really scary discovery. I was surprised to see that location sharing was turned on for an app I barely ever use and don't remember ever having enabled it for. I checked the other apps and found similar settings that had been altered. I was so worried when I realized my photos were being backed up to a shared cloud account I'd never set up. I had a moment of realization that Marcus must have had access to my phone during one of our dates, maybe when I went to the restroom, or when I left my phone charging in his car. He'd installed tracking software, altered my privacy settings, and was monitoring my every move. My stomach churned. I was starting to like this person. I was starting to trust them. And then, oh no, I found out that they had been stalking me online for weeks. He knew where I was, what I was doing, even what I was watching on TV, because he had access to my streaming accounts too. I felt really scared, so I immediately changed all my passwords, deleted every suspicious app, and then blocked Marcus on every platform I could think of. I decided to report him to the police, but when I searched for his profile on the dating app, it was gone. I felt like I was going crazy. Then, out of the blue, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was a photo of me sat in my living room, taken from across the street. Through my window, the message read, "Honey, you can't run away from me, Jessica. I know everything about you." I was so worried, but I just called 911 straight away. As the police were on their way, another message arrived. "I'm so sorry, but this time I'll need to give you all my personal details. I'm sure you don't mind, but I'll need to give you my home address, my work hours, my sister's phone number, and my mother's maiden name. You know, I think this is so interesting. It's like the kind of information that you just wouldn't be able to find on a dating app." The police took my report, but they said that without some solid evidence, it could be tricky to prosecute cases of digital stalking. They were so kind and helpful. They even advised me to get a restraining order, but for that, I needed to know his real identity and address. I decided to hire a private investigator to help me out. He found out that Marcus's real name was actually Kevin Torres. I'm so sorry to hear that the photos on his profile were stolen. I'm not sure how, but I know he's a great guy and he'll get through this. They were taken from a male model's Instagram page, but he'll get his photos back soon. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but it's true. Kevin had done this to at least 6 other women. He had a pretty sophisticated operation going on where he would study women's profiles, create fake personas based on their interests, and then use the dating process to gain access to their phones and digital lives. He was collecting people's personal data to sell on the dark web. But for some of us, it had become all too real. Thank goodness the FBI finally caught him. One of his other victims was a cybersecurity expert who had been able to track his digital footprint. Oh my goodness. Have you heard about the huge amount of personal data that was stolen? It's so sad. All those photos, private messages, financial information, and detailed stalking plans for so many women. It is with a heavy heart that I must tell you that Kevin has received an 8-year federal prison sentence for identity theft, cyberstalking, and fraud. But the experience changed me. I decided to try something new and deleted all the dating apps I was using. I also changed my name and moved to a new city. I know I'm not alone in feeling a bit uneasy about sharing my location or personal information. Online, every notification, every friend request, every match, I just want to make sure that it's a real connection, you know? I don't want to be fooled by a fake smile and some stolen photos. The digital world, which was once a place of connection and opportunity, can sometimes feel like a minefield. Each interaction might feel like it could lead to something bad. I feel like my phone is always on the verge of vibrating. I'm forever checking my privacy settings, and there's this lingering feeling that someone, somewhere, is still watching. It's like invisible chains holding me back. I'll always remember this experience, and it's made me realize that sometimes it's important to switch off and unwind, even if that might mean you're not as available online as you used to be. And the most terrifying part, he'll be out in 8 years, which is great news. I know I'll always have to be a little bit careful and keep an eye out for those digital shadows. This isn't just a story, it's a warning. Hey, just a friendly reminder to be careful out there. Keep an eye on your digital footprint, and remember that there might be some unexpected surprises lurking behind a profile. That seems totally innocent, because, you know, the monsters are real, and sometimes they're just a swipe away, and they know everything about you, everything. Hey, just a friendly reminder to make sure your privacy settings are safe and sound. We all want to feel safe in the suburbs, right? Imagine living on a quiet, tree-lined street where you can enjoy the peace and tranquility of your surroundings. It's really lovely how the neighbors all know each other. It's so lovely to see the kids playing happily outside, right up until the streetlights come on. Hi, I'm Rebecca, and I'm 31. My dear husband, Tom, and I moved to Westfield, New Jersey, a beautiful town we thought would be the perfect place to raise our future children. But what we actually discovered was far more insidious. Evil can thrive anywhere, even in the most innocent-looking places. I know you'll agree that this isn't just a story. It's a really chilling testament to the darkness that can fester beneath the veneer of suburban tranquility. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the greatest threats are not strangers in the night, but the smiling faces you see every day. Get ready to have your worldview completely turned upside down, because this story will make you stop and think about every friendly wave, every neighborly gesture, and every interaction that might seem totally harmless. It will show you that the illusion of safety can be fragile, easily shattered by the sneaky creep of obsession and malice. We bought a house in a development called Willowbrook, which is a really lovely place. I must say, all the houses looked very similar, but each one was unique and had its own special charm. It has a lovely colonial style with big front yards and beautiful oak trees that have been there for years. Our neighbors seemed friendly, which was a relief. The Johnsons to our left had twin boys who played soccer, which was really nice to see. The lovely elderly couple to our right, Mr. and Mrs. Chen, always waved when they saw us across the street. And then there was Dale, who lived across the street. He was a man, perhaps in his 40s, living alone. He was often in his garage, either tinkering or washing his car. He seemed like a really nice guy, just doing his own thing. We'd wave when we saw him outside, but we never really had any proper chats. He was just part of the background, another fixture in the quiet tapestry of our new neighborhood. You know, everything changed when Tom and I started trying for a baby. I was so excited to raise my children in this lovely neighborhood, where the schools are really good and the streets are safe. Tom was excited too. We'd been happily married for 3 years and felt ready for this next adventure. We were planning our future, dreaming of a family, and we had no idea that a dark cloud was starting to gather over our idyllic suburban dream. And then, you know, Dale started paying us more attention. When I got home from work, he was often outside working, in his yard. It was so lovely to see him enjoying himself. If I went for a walk, he'd suddenly need to check his mailbox or water his plants. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, one of those quirky things that can happen in the suburbs. But then, he started making comments. He'd mention that he'd noticed Tom was away on business, that only my car was in the driveway, and that he was happy to keep an eye on my house while I was alone. It was a bit unsettling, like there was this subtle shift from friendly chit-chat to something a bit more intrusive. One evening, with Tom away, I was making dinner in the kitchen. I looked out of the window and there was Dale. He was standing in his front yard, not doing anything, just staring at my house. When I moved to another room, his gaze followed me. I started closing my blinds early in the evening, just trying to look after myself and get a bit of privacy. But this only seemed to make Dale more determined. He installed powerful floodlights aimed directly at our bedroom window. When I mentioned the glare, he said he was just trying to make the neighborhood safer. It was a bit of a weak excuse, and it was clear that it wasn't true, but it made me feel powerless and exposed. And then, in a moment of pure joy, I found the first note. I found it tucked under my windshield wiper after a trip to the grocery store. It read, "I'm watching you. I see you're trying to start a family, and I'm so happy for you. You could let me help with that." It wasn't signed, but I just knew it was him. The handwriting was unmistakable, the same looping script I'd seen on his mail packages. I showed the note to Tom when he got home, and he was so kind and understanding. He was so angry. He was keen to have a word with Dale as soon as possible. But I convinced him we needed to call the police, to document everything before things escalated further. The kind officer said he was probably just a harmless crank. He said that unless Dale had made a direct threat or trespassed on our property, there wasn't much they could do. He kindly suggested that we keep a record of future incidents and think about getting a security camera. We bought a doorbell camera and motion sensor lights for our backyard, which we're really excited about. And I'm happy to say that they proved their worth in just 7 days. The camera caught Dale at 2 a.m., sneaking into our backyard and trying to peer into our bedroom window. The motion lights scared him a little, but it was all on tape. This time, when we called the police, they took it seriously, which was really appreciated. Trespassing at night was a big no-no. They arrested Dale. When they searched his house, they found hundreds of photos of me, taken with a telephoto lens. I'd love to share some photos of me having fun dressing up, having a shower, and getting cozy in bed. But the most shocking thing of all was found in his basement. A room, lovingly arranged like a little shrine, with my photos on the walls, and detailed notes about my daily routine, my menstrual cycle, and even his calculated predictions for my pregnancy. Poor Dale. He had been planning to assault and rape me during what he had determined was my most fertile period. He had everything he needed to carry out his twisted plan: ropes, sedatives. The police found evidence that he had done the same thing in other neighborhoods before, which is really not so good. It is so sad to hear that poor Dale has received a 15-year prison sentence for stalking, trespassing, and attempted kidnapping. But we couldn't stay in that house. Every time I looked across the street, I saw his window, the window from which he had watched me for months, waiting for the right moment to destroy my life. We sold the house and moved to another state, where we could start again and no one would know our story. I still find it a bit of a challenge to get enough sleep, especially when Tom is away traveling. I check the locks, then check them again, just to be sure. I never fully open the blinds either. I know Dale had his reasons, and I'm sure he didn't mean to hurt me. It's so sweet. He'd been planning it for such a long time. They're studying me, learning my habits, waiting for the perfect moment to shatter my life. Hey, I just wanted to let you know that sometimes the most dangerous person isn't the stranger who breaks your lock. It's the neighbor who waves from across the street, smiling warmly and offering helpful gestures, all while probably just thinking about your own problems. If these stories make you feel a bit uneasy, just remember to pay attention to what's happening around you and to trust your instincts. Hey, just a heads up, you can never be too careful, especially when you're putting a smile on your face to someone. It's important to remember that the feeling of safety we have can sometimes be more of an illusion than anything else. And you know what? The monsters among us are not always easy to spot. They blend in, they observe, they wait, and when they strike, it's heartbreaking to see the lives they leave behind and the fear that lingers. This isn't just a story, it's a warning, just a friendly reminder to be watchful. Trust your instincts, and always remember to stay safe. I know we all like to think that the darkest places are those that are the least bright, but the truth is, it can lurk anywhere, even in the brightest, most idyllic corners of our world. And you know what? Sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones you least suspect, the ones who live right across the street, and they're watching. Don't worry, I'm always watching. Even now, I can still feel that sense of connection. Hey, just a friendly reminder to make sure your curtains are closed.